Here are 3 great Chevrolet offers from Glynn Smith.
Good afternoon, everyone. Actually, good evening.
Yes.
We are live from Glynn Smith Chevrolet and GMC here in Opelika, Alabama. Our presenting sponsor for all things Georgia, Alabama Sports Live. For Barringer, we got Chris Gates. He is actually in front of the camera, and usually the man that's manning the behind the camera, who's producing. Him and Toygar are guys that just make everything look great. Decided to have him on camera today. We're going to have Richard Holdridge. He's virtual, and then our guest that we're going to have coming up here in just a moment, which is going to be Mr. Rex Castillo of WRBL, the former sports director, now morning news anchor, who is also still doing a lot of sports stuff, a part of Georgia, Alabama Sports Live, and he's got some big projects coming up about local teams in our area. You're not going to want to miss out on that. Again, we are presented by Glynn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. Chris,
you have to get ready for smiling for when you say that, my friend.
I'm
you got
smiling
to
right now. But excited about today's live show. We're going to talk some Atlanta Hawks. What should they do? Me and Richard are digest that. Who's going to be their top pick? That happens on Wednesday. That's literally tomorrow. We're also, I was going to hit on some college football. Jake Crain had to reschedule from Crain and Company, so we'll have him on maybe tomorrow to talk more college football when we do a show tomorrow. We also got a live interview with Steve Smith because guess what? We're sitting with an athletic director, state of the programs. And first one, Steve Smith from Calvary. I can't wait to have him. We'll also talk with Emmanuel Brunson and Jonathan Gordon and some other coaches for their programs at Calvary, basketball, baseball, softball. We're going to try to hit as many sports as we can for this upcoming year. A lot of big things, bright future for Georgia, Alabama Sports Live, and I'm glad Glynn Smith is a part of it. But we'll talk Atlanta Hawks, maybe some Atlanta Braves, and anything else that we can think of here. In the
Did you watch the Game 7 last night?
And, of course, Game 7 last night. And I got some thoughts on the NBA as well. J.J. Redick press conference and all that.
Yeah.
But without further ado, let's go ahead and bring him on. Richard, he is formerly the sports director of WRBL. And also, he is now the morning news anchor. He does a lot of things for WRBL. He's all over the place. His face is everywhere. He's one of my real dear and good friends. It is Richard, or like I like to say, Rex Castillo of WRBL. Rex, how are you, man?
Doing well, guys. Can you hear me good?
We can hear you just fine, my friend.
And,
we can hear you just fine.
Appreciate you joining us, Rex. So let's go ahead and get into it. How's everything been on your end? How's the morning news? Everybody can see you in the mornings. How's life going in the news department?
Well, life is actually pretty good, man. Waking up at 0:38 took some getting used to, but also being able to be back at home and spend a little more time with the family, and getting time with the fiance is always great. Just a little extra time, but it seems like any extra time that I do have or that I find myself doing, I fill it with sports stuff. Still, it's a tremendous sports scene down here, and I just can't keep pulling myself away from it. And always glad to help out either y'all at Georgia Alabama Sports Live with a fantastic brand you guys are building up, or the WRBL sports guys as well. It was always like I'm always just in the sports office anyway. So luckily Jack and Tyler haven't kicked me out.
Well, Rex, and also Sports Visions as well. You're a big part of what we do with Sports Visions. You come in anytime during when like we do with luncheons and stuff like that to present awards. It's always awesome to see you and still being a big part of the sports scene around this area. There's so many directions I want to go here. I guess first we'll start with the Columbus Braves because we were there with each other, Rex, and we'll get to your projects here in a moment. I promise you. I'm just trying to tease everyone, trying to get more viewers in because they've already dropped the trailer, but I can't wait to go in more depth with the guy that's basically the orchestrator for Inside the Trenches, which is if you love. What is it that the NFL does?
It's the
I can't believe we're drawing a blank.
We're both drawing a blank.
Hard
Yes,
Knocks.
thank you, Rex. Thank you.
Jesus.
No, that's okay.
If you love Hard Knocks, you're going to love it Hard Knocks high school style. But let's talk about the Columbus Braves. You were there in the press
conference. It's actually better than Hard Knocks, to be honest with you. It's covering better teams, too.
Rex, talk about the Columbus Braves and what it means. You've been here for several years now. You know what professional sports and minor league sports mean to the Columbus area. And now having a AA affiliate that could have major talent come through this area, and then the huge money going towards Synovus Park. I mean, talk about everything that's happened with the Braves and your opinion on it.
My thing is, I think the Columbus Braves actually hit a home run by bringing it to Columbus. I mean, you go back to the history of what was at Golden Park. If you talk about the story of baseball, the who's who played in Columbus, Jackie Robinson, Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb, everyone has played at Golden Park. So it was a real shame when I first got here, and it was just this, kind of this landmark that was forgotten about, or you just hear, people at the local watering hole talk about how they used to watch all the Columbus Red Sticks and, the Catfish play there. So I think with the Braves, they found that golden, that hidden gem. I have to give a lot of credit to the Chattahoots as well for being kind of the first ones out there to showcase that, look, it's still a viable baseball spot. And you have to think about it at the AA level, speaking with other coaches and people who really are inside baseball and have their careers there. That's the level where you see guys knocking on the door of the big leagues. So for example, guys like Albies, Michael Harris, Spencer Strider, Acuna, they'll be coming to Columbus now. I mean, we all know that, the season-ending injury, unfortunately, that Acuna and Strider had, for this season, and hopefully the Braves can still find some momentum, but their rehab starts are going to be here in Columbus now. So that's tremendously exciting. Look, we all love to go to Atlanta, Truist Park, even though I have my roots in Houston, Truist Park is a phenomenal venue. It's a great fan experience, but it's not always the easiest ticket to get. So now with what they're doing in Columbus and reinvesting in this community, and there's so much here that has to offer with not only the military base, but with all the people that go in and out of this area, just because of the growing community that it is. I think it's going to be a phenomenal asset to our community, and it's only getting better and better. And you see all the plans, and hopefully, knock on wood, all the plans don't have too many curveballs in it. But I'm really excited because look, we can hop in the car and just watch Acuna take a couple of rehab starts here in the Fountain City, right next to the Civic Center where the Lions play, and we're good to go.
Right.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be fantastic. And Rex, you bring up a extra point about the atmosphere of the sports that are being played here, especially with the new Braves minor league team coming in. We have the River Dragons, and you got Memorial Stadium. This is just a fantastic community for a lot of different sports. How do you tell people how great the atmosphere that we have just for the sports around here, not just for the professional level, but even for the high school level as well too?
I was, talking with Jack. He's mentioned this almost every single time, that if you like a sport, we have some team that's going to be phenomenal at it here in Columbus. It always really surprised me whenever I first took the job here in Columbus. I always thought that I was going to Columbus, Ohio, but then someone's like, no, you're going to Columbus, Georgia. It's just on the other side of the state. But then you see the tremendous amount of talent and the amount of care that a lot of people have for this place. It's really a nice sports little gem right here. And, half an hour or an hour, I could drive to Auburn and see incredible SEC sports over there. Just over 2 hours, you go to Atlanta. A little further north, you go to Georgia. And then you can head to Alabama within 3 hours as well. But here in the city, you have people going to major D1 programs to even the professional level. We have Super Bowl champions that call Columbus home. You have people who, have made it to the pros in almost every single sport. Frank Thomas played at Columbus High School. Like, come on, man. This is a real community, a hotbed, if you will, of absolutely sports talent. It only continues to get better and better. And what's amazing with these football camps too, Chris, is that you see a guy like Michael Williams, who by all means could have just done multiple camps in Atlanta, but he wanted to come back to Columbus since he's a Hardaway High School grad. Sang Bassey from Columbus High, who's made it to the NFL. He's coming back to do a football camp as well. And then Isaiah Crowell, a guy who has played for the Browns and the Raiders, who's, he's made some good money in the NFL. He's coming back to continue to do his camp. And then, of course, with Sports Vision's own DJ Jones, a guy who, he won a national championship with the Dogs and then been around some of the, who's who of the NFL talent. To come back and just establish more of a brand here in Columbus. So y'all, like, if you're new to this area, if you're watching this for the first time and you're a sports fan, you're in for a pleasant surprise.
I think that's a great point. And got to be a part of the Lions winning a championship, multiple state championships. Columbus State, CBCC are great college programs in this area that you should support. I think that's all a great point. I'm excited about the Braves. I've thought this about with Jack, same with DJ. DJ said he's going to call it Sonova Stadium at Golden Park because he doesn't want to lose the name Golden Park. Now, I'm okay with it too. I don't know if someone's going to come down on our heads for saying this on live television or radio, whatever it may be, Rex, but it's hard losing that nostalgia of what Golden Park represented. But let's talk about the economic value that something like this could bring, because when you build a mini Truist, this is outside just being, having a good baseball team. That's going to open up avenues for more jobs, which allow more people to be involved. And it also hopefully brings outsiders and see what Columbus can bring and helps rebuild infrastructures that needed rebuilding. Talk about that aspect of it too, because you're on the news side, so we got to talk about things that affect just Columbus as a whole, right? And
it's not just a Columbus thing. I'm sorry to interrupt. It's also, it surrounds that Phoenix City area, because it's really going to bring in all the people from that Phoenix City, East Alabama, Russell County. So it's just a great thing all around. Sorry.
I have to completely agree with you guys right there. I mean, look, the Braves are a tremendous brand. You know what I mean? It's a national brand from East Coast to West Coast. And Chris brings up a good point, too, that Columbus being where it is also the gateway to open up to Alabama, Mississippi, and up north to Tennessee as well, because you're pretty much close, if not the geographical center of the South. So at this point now, you help when you bring a brand like that really invests in the community, that also brings investors, that also brings other businesses as well to look at, like, all right, look, from Columbus, you can get to where you need to, and you don't necessarily have to pay big city prices just yet. But I think it's one of those things that the Braves have found a way to keep their brand within the Peach State, but also expand their brand organically through the rest of the South. Because you go to Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, you really don't hit another major league market until probably Houston. So it's one of those things that if you could continue to just entrench yourself in those communities, and now they can make an easier drive to Columbus if you're coming from the Mississippis or the Alabamas of the world, because Atlanta's nice to get to, sure, but again, it's one of these things that, like, look, you can pay X amount of dollars to go see Spencer Strider play at Truist and pitch against the Phillies, or just come down and see what Columbus is all about. And this has been a city too that's hosted national tournaments, national champions have been decided here. It's a great regional site for a lot of the high school sports as well. And when you look at that, there has been, I think, a mission for our city government to find a way to grow that side of town and to not leave it, dilapidated, for lack of a better term, but leave it forgotten. And let's give something that the people enjoy. Let's give something to people that, can rally around, bring our community together, and bring dollars back into our community. On one side, it looks like a home run out of right there, but you also got to be careful with the other sides. I'm sure, there's always going to be curveballs and other bumps in the road to figure out, but there's a lot of excitement. And as far as like Synovus Park, hey, look, there's a reason why the Astros play at Minute Maid Park, and there's a reason why the Braves play at Truist Park, because somebody was willing to pay the bills for it. But
Right.
you can never take the memories away from what was there before Synovus Park. And I think that they're doing a great job, that they are going to leave some of the infrastructure of Golden Park. And the fact that they didn't level everything is a tip of the cap and an homage to the history of what's there. And I think baseball, like more than any other sport, that you have to hold on to that history and honor it the right way.
I think that's a great point. And moving on from the Columbus Braves, let's go ahead and get into that project, because I do want to hit on the Hawks. And then this guy also is a big-time Longhorns fan. Hook 'em. And my guy is now going to be a part of the SEC along with Oklahoma. I just want to get some initial thoughts for media days. But before we get into that, let's talk about inside the trenches. In the trenches, excuse me. This, for one, a phenomenal name. Two, it's been something that's been long going. It's one of the best, I think, documentaries and, pieces, if you will, for those that are in the industry, just like a small 5 to 10 minute, maybe 30-minute segments on something sports related.
It's Gabby all the way.
Gabby. And I think I
everything.
don't know if it won a Gabby, Rex. You can speak on that. So talk about the brainchild that was in the trenches, what it's turned into today, and then you can slowly but surely tease us on who you're going to be doing this year.
Well, overall, I have been a huge Hard Knocks fan, or anything that comes to longer form storytelling within football, because the one thing about TV is that you are given a hard time. Like there's no way around it, that I have 3 minutes to maybe 3.5 minutes, if I'm lucky, to talk about all the sports in an area that matter that day. And I think when you look at high school football, there is so much dedication. There's so much, fandom, and also so many great stories to tell. So I presented the idea to our to our leadership. Like, look, I've always wanted to do this. I've always wanted to kind of really entrench myself with a high school football team, because what Hard Knocks has done with the NFL is a absolute model, a gold standard of what you want for longer form storytelling. But I was all like, the NFL is great, but we have guys here at the grassroots level that have as much passion, dedication. And I think the coaches are Hall of Fame human beings as well, with the people that we've picked. So we wanted to start out in Columbus, because I did need a lot of help. I can't do this by myself. So have to give a shout out to guys like, Drew Plata, Jack Patterson, Tyler Redmond, Kevin Roble, guys who have actually really put the blood, sweat, and tears into making this project happen, to understanding my vision behind it. And I wanted to really tie in, like, okay, what are you doing in these crazy Georgia summers to get ready for a football season? And it's turned into a thing where we see these seniors who really want to establish a legacy with these programs that have done very well. For example, like the Shaw Raiders and like the Carver Tigers. When you think about those two programs, you'll find people as passionate about those programs as you do SEC football. And so I really thought that was a really unique opportunity to let me actually explore the stories here. Then you find people who are like, yeah, we want to be the next, we want to honor what Del McGee has done, or what, other coaches have done at Shaw. And finding those stories and finding the actual communities that are still so tied to what these schools are doing. For example, with Shaw, I talked to guys that played in the NFL. I talked to guys that are in our military. I talked to guys who have gone on to do great things. Shout out to, Troy Bergeron, a guy who played for the Georgia Force when they were in the AFL. And all these guys still fondly remember what it was like to play high school football in Columbus. So for me, I'm like, look, if I do this the right way, I honor your legacy, I honor those stories, I think we have something here. And luckily, Carver was the debut season, the inaugural season of it, and we got tremendous momentum there. We fine-tuned a little more things with the Shaw Raiders, because what was great about that is Coach Johnny Garner was the assistant head coach at Carver. He took the head coach at Shaw, and, I can't say enough about these coaches, Coach Pierre Coffey, Coach Johnny Garner, for really understanding what we were trying to do and trusting us, because there is a lot of trust when it comes to doing these stories, that I'm not here to do gotcha journalism with these guys or expose bad practices when it comes to what's going on at these schools, that I really want to see what's going on behind the scenes, because a lot of people can show up Friday, talk their trash on Thursday, and talk even more trash on Saturday. And then they just get, all right, we'll be back next week. No, these young men, these men and women who honestly do so much for these young kids to just get an opportunity to, be a part of a team, maybe give themselves a shot at college. It's amazing. So after doing those two story programs in Columbus, I looked at Drew Plata, myself, Jack Patterson, Tyler, and our leadership. Like, all right, let's swing for the fences. Central just won themselves a state championship. We knocked on the door. Patrick Nix, to his credit and to his just thank you so much again, Coach Nix, for his trust, has given us the opportunity to be entrenched with the Red Devils, who are on their way to try and defend a state championship. And immediately with the trailer, we spoke to former players. We've spoken to some players and Coach Nix himself, and we have a good storyline. We have a good roadmap right now to try and get it. And it's a January. No, sorry, not January. That's way too long. July 20. The end of July is when we'll start debuting that season, and I'm really excited. Working really hard to make sure that we have all the right pieces in place. Can't give away too much, but I am excited to say that the Red Devils, when you say that this is a powerhouse program, they work at it to make sure that I'm turning my phone here a little bit just because arms getting tired. But they put in the work, my friend, to really uphold the standard of Central. And also we find out that not only is there a legacy, but there's a responsibility to putting on that Central C, because you play for Phoenix City. You also understand that you are now everybody's target game. Everyone wants to take the Red Devils down, especially since they won that blue map. And we talked about, like, what is it like to be part of that fraternity, basically. And again, when we talk about guys who are dedicated to a high school program as much as they are an SEC program, y'all, game nights in Phoenix City at Garrett Harrison Stadium is one of the best that we have around in the area, and I would argue one of the best in the South. It's truly amazing.
Yes, it is, man. And I think it's awesome that you're able to do this. It's really cool seeing last year's at Shaw U is what they called it, Chris, and now at Central. But you made mention it's the trust factor. It's that you're doing this for the exposure of the program. You're putting history out there. You can do gotcha journalism. There's always stories everywhere if you unturn every rock. But the problem is, in a town this small, you're taking away from all the positive stuff. And I just don't want to get to that level. I can't wait. I know a lot of people remember the two-a-day show that had Rush Probst and Hoover that Hoover powerhouse that won 4 straight state championships in the early 2000s. They did something similar like this on MTV. So I can't wait to be able to see it. The trailer was excellent, and I am super excited about the Red Devils. Central is a powerhouse. They are the premier sports program in our area, and everyone else is on par. We got a lot of great programs that win state championships, but Central, it seems like every single sport they're finding ways to win.
It's the way it's a culture that's built there, and I know Rex. That's what. Without even been doing spoilers, I know that's what you and Drew and everyone else that worked on this season of Inside the Trenches going to be showcasing is that just that economy that's inside the team of what they did, and and anyone who's been following that team, they've seen it for a long time. Coach Nix has been there, and I can tell you from the previous job I was working at, when his first season he started. Taking over what Coach DeBose had did before with that team, that was a lot of people loved that Central team because they had won their first championship title under him during that time, and they were making runs for it. Okay. And so Coach Nix to come in, it was that's an insane culture to go to be, and that's such that. I would say that 7A over there in East Alabama is one of the toughest ones out there. Central, you got to go against Auburn, you're going against Smith Station, you're going against Opelika, and then constantly you have to either play Hoover or Thompson or one of those teams in the playoffs. And a lot of teams have gotten better, but to hit on them after winning that title, and for you guys to be able to do it, and anyone that knows me as a former WRBL love, I'm going to say it. I am so happy because, and I'm going to give you some flowers here for Rex. I got to say this. A lot of people don't know the kind of person, and he's disappeared, but that's all right. Yeah, okay. No, it's fine. I'm still going to say it anyway. A lot of people, you're not just doing this because you want to put a name out there for yourself, and because this is a very, you want to have that, oh yeah, look, this is this great story I did. You love these kind of stories. You love this community that you're in. You love to showcase it. And for you to do that and to be where you are and everything that you've done for the sports department, for the station, and for Jack and myself and Thrift, Richard Holdridge, all of us, I have to give you the shout out for that, because you are not just, you don't do this just because you want to tell a story. You do it because it's a love. And so I want to say that to you, because man, that's you really, you inspire me to always keep on doing this, and you're inspiring us here.
I was about to say, we just literally did an interview today, Rex. It's going to be called a new segment we're doing. We did it last year. It's not new, but we're more improved this year. It's called Sitting with an Athletic Director, State of the Programs. And we're going to sit with every AD around our area. First was Tim Fanning. It's just letting them tell their story, promoting all their programs. And again, I took a lot of the ideas from the way you do your interviews, and there's so much things to cover, Rex. I don't feel like no one stepped on anybody's toes. There's so much to cover out there. We need multiple outlets doing this, because some things get undercovered, and I hope we'll be doing a better job. But stuff like in the trenches, I don't want to keep saying inside, in the trenches,
in the trenches.
It's excellent, and proud of you, man. And I'm looking forward to seeing that this year. But now that we said that, now let's talk about the hard topics. Texas Longhorns are moving to the SEC, but here's the thing, though. They're coming in, I think, at the perfect time for their program. If this would have happened 5 years ago, think about where Texas was at.
Absolutely
10
not.
years ago, think about where Texas was at. To now see Steve Sarkisian have, in many preseason magazines, a top 3 team, which the number 1 team is Georgia, and you got Alabama in the top 5. You got Missouri. I mean, you got so many great teams in the SEC. But they're coming in there at the top of Texas football. I know that's got to make you feel good. So as a guy that's covered and watched Texas Longhorns and wanted them to be relevant for quite some time, to make the playoffs last year and now make the transition to the SEC, I know you're thinking the heavens. I would be, because if this was 6-7 years ago, you probably would take you more time to be able to transition into the SEC. I don't think it's going to take as long now, because you're basically an SEC team already.
Rex, I just want to say this before you answer. I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to make a bold Charles Barkley claim, a guarantee. They win that conference.
Stop him right now. Stop him right now.
They're winning.
Stop him right now.
They do. I'm saying it.
I'll mute him right now. Go ahead.
First of all, to both of you guys, you're doing tremendous work. I appreciate the flowers. I really do. We're not done yet. But after that, so as far as Texas winning the conference, y'all, there's a giant mountain to climb. I will say Texas is in a much healthier place than we were before. Yeah. I am also very aware of how obnoxious we can be. So Texas is not back. Everybody stop. Everyone stop. We are not back. When we are back is when we raise the national championship like once Vince Young did. To all of my Longhorns fans out there, it's a long time ago. That was a long time ago. Okay?
20 years, man.
Guys, people who were born in 2005, 2006 can now be legally considered adults. They can vote now. We need to let that go. We have a lot of work to do.
Cowboys fans.
Stop it. But at the same time, we're in a place, I think, that everyone likes to assume. You come into the SEC, there is this regionalism, right? That it is tremendous college football. It's physical. It's fast. It's dangerous. It is the elite of the elite. I want to remind everybody that Oklahoma and Texas are coming into the SEC. We are not the new Vanderbilt. We are not the new Mississippi State. Like, I would like to akin to kind of a Chattahoochee Valley alum in Josh Pate. Like, yeah, we're new to the bus, but we're not. Who told you that we're sitting at the back of the bus? There's a lot of talent in Austin that I think has the opportunity to compete very, very well. And now I do think at the same time that there's going to be an adjustment period, because gosh, that's a lot. That is a lot of competition to adjust to. As far as winning the conference, I want us to compete. I do think that we can get into the playoff, because, gosh, with like 2 or 3 losses, you can still be considered a playoff team these days. I do believe, though, that there will be a really strong showing. I am super excited, to answer your question flat out, Thrift. This is going to be a tremendous year, a tremendous boost for the brand. And I think Sark, a guy who has been in the fires of the SEC under a guy like Coach Saban and has done very well, he is going to find another gear. That, look, let's be honest, it's a little tough to get up for some Big 12 schools that are more basketball schools than they are football schools. There's a gauntlet throughout the entire season now. And I'm really excited to see matchups like, for example, Auburn's going to host Oklahoma. I don't know when's that happened outside of a bowl game, very rarely in non-conference matchups. But for that game, because I am a Longhorn fan, War Eagle, can't wait to see Auburn absolutely stomp the Sooners out there. But I think it's just those matchups that, college fans are just super excited to see. As far as the Longhorns go, Quinn Ewers is still our guy. I know that Arch is in the wings, but like when you look at what Quinn's done, also shout out to being on the cover of NCAA Football 25. It's one of those things that he's a guy who has the job until he loses the job. And we lost guys like Xavier Worthy and A.D. Mitchell to the draft, but there's a lot of talent still coming back. Jonathan, Taylor's also gone too. This is going to be a team that has a lot of talent, but gosh, when you talk about a brand, you have a responsibility when you wear that burnt orange. That look, everyone's gonna come after you. Everyone wants that win over you. And so I've heard other college analysts say this too, is that just because you put that on, that uniform on, you are owed absolutely nothing, and you have to defend absolutely everything. So I hope that mentality sinks in, because at Alabama, that kind of mentality was ingrained into that culture. It's like, you have the Alabama jersey on. Congratulations. You know what that means? More responsibility. And the moment you let up, there's another 5-star behind you, and there's another 4-star behind that guy, and there's another 5-star behind y'all. So I think the opportunity to rise up to the level, you either, to borrow a Georgia term, you're either elite or you're not. It's really that cut and dry. Rise up to the challenge of being elite, or step aside and let somebody else take care of it, because there's going to be plenty of other people there, especially in the world of the transfer portal. So I think at this time, Texas is in a good competitive place after getting to the 4 finally, and having the opportunity to see what it's like to be up against the gauntlet of the SEC. I'm super excited, y'all. And Chris, I love the confidence. Please, can we play the games?
Exactly, Chris. So hold your horses on that. But I will say, Missouri came in year 2, went to the SEC championship.
Look, I laughed Texas A&M out of the building.
Johnny Manziel.
Right, I laughed Texas A&M out of the building.
What'd you say, Rex?
I laughed Texas A&M out of the building, and then all of a sudden Johnny Football does Johnny Football things in Tuscaloosa, and I had to eat all of my words.
Yeah, same with me.
We all did that year. Don't worry about it, buddy.
Yeah, we did.
But Rex, the storylines I look at when Texas and Oklahoma coming in, for one, with Texas, you got to think A&M was beside themselves. They didn't want this to happen, but eventually they had to just succumb to it, and now A&M and Texas going to have that rivalry. But again, A&M was in a mindset, if we were going to do this, we should have done this 5 years ago, because now Texas is the premier team in the state of Texas. Steve has now taken that program and the way it's recruiting. I know that A&M, that's why they thought they had made a move from Jimbo, because they're seeing Texas have their best year in 15 seasons, and look like they're a runaway freight train, kind of like Ohio State and Georgia when it comes to recruiting. They feel like they're going to get left behind, and now Texas is moving to the SEC. Then you got Oklahoma again when Lincoln Riley moved, and I'm starting to think we'll see with USC and way he transitions in the Big Ten. But I think Lincoln Riley leaving Oklahoma before they made the move to the SEC was a good move for Oklahoma, because I think Brent Venables has been in an SEC type program in Clemson and knows what it takes to compete and recruit at that level. I think that's why Oklahoma will. I think they're going to be fine. But Texas and Oklahoma coming in, I'm with you. I don't think it's like Missouri. I don't think it's like any other team that has come into the SEC, and even A&M. I think both of them are coming in and thinking, I know we were joking, but they could win a national championship and an SEC championship in year 1. It is not rebuild. I know you're making the face, Rex, but, I mean, Texas returns almost everyone with Quinn Ewers. And let's think about this, too, when it comes to University of Texas. If they continue at the rate they're going, Nick Saban retired. Now, we don't know what Kalen DeBoer is going to turn into at Alabama. They could be a great program. But right now, that top dog position is held by Georgia. But Texas is not too far behind. I can see both of those guys going neck and neck in Texas and Alabama. I mean, Texas and Georgia being the 2 best programs in SEC for many years to come. So I'm excited. And like you said, healthy is a great word when talking about Texas's move into the SEC. Do you think Oklahoma has trouble this year. They return a lot. Do you think the defense, what would be your biggest concern when talking about these two programs? And more specifically, Oklahoma, because Texas did make the playoff last year and they beat Alabama in Alabama. So I think they got the roster, but Oklahoma specifically. But what are some of the concerns you have with both these programs moving to the SEC?
Oklahoma's big concern for me, I think, has to be at the quarterback position where, you had a guy like Dylan Gabriel do what he did. You got to fill in those holes. But I think what we're going to see is a Brent Venables defense become a Brent Venables defense. That's what he did at Clemson. And a lot of guys at Oklahoma are buying in. That Red River game where Texas was on the 1 yard line. And we did everything from, a screen pass to Xavier Worthy, a dive play at the 1 yard line. They held Texas. And I made the point that, like, if Oklahoma gets a stop on 4th and goal, we're losing the game. And we lost the game. So I think with Oklahoma, it's just a matter of adjusting and finding solidifying that identity. Think about Texas and Georgia. If you want to find out who's going to be the top dog in the SEC with that vacuum at the top, luckily they play each other this year. I really do think that it's easy to hand the crown off to Georgia with the back-to-back natties, with what Kirby Smart is continuing to build with that kind of momentum. I think with Sark, it's a matter of just rising up again, finding these opportunities, finding these chances, and not letting them go. I think Texas in the past has had big games and big opportunities, or they get the lead and then they just some way don't shut the door. You got to do that in the SEC. I promise you. You get a 7-point lead, and like there are teams, they have a 7-point lead on you. It might as well be a 28-point lead. You can't leave the door open is my biggest thing. Finish games from whistle to whistle.
Sorry.
And yeah, sorry. And then at the same time, you look at what the SEC brings as far as recruiting goes. I can completely understand why Texas A&M is upset, because for a while when they made that move to the SEC, I was really worried that that was Texas A&M's trump card when it comes to recruits. Like, sure, son, you can go to Lubbock, play at Texas Tech. You can go to Austin, and at the same time, like, you can go and do great at those programs, historically great programs. But at the same time, you look at Texas A&M and it's like, look, son, you can stay in the state of Texas, stay where your mama and daddy are, all right, and then play in the SEC. That's the trump card. They don't have that trump card anymore. So A&M is in a really interesting rebuilding spot. But again, guys, there's a lot of money at A&M. There's a lot of donors who love the Aggies. And there's a lot of NIL money to be had. I know that doesn't equate to success, but the Aggies won't be down for long. And for people in this area, imagine if the Iron Bowl wasn't played for a few years. Imagine if Georgia Auburn wasn't played for a few years. That's what Texas A&M was to me. Like, we're finally getting this game back, at least sooner rather than later. That's what I'm most excited about. I have Aggies in my family. That week, we aren't family anymore. So I'm really excited to see that game happen. I'm really excited to see these rivalries renewed. As far as Texas, again, it's one of these things that Thrift. I think you're right that the top spot in the SEC is open. Texas needs to make that move now.
I'm looking at the schedule, and we'll get into this later. We're gonna have Rex on plenty of time, but you got
it's brutal.
Texas A&M. You got Oklahoma playing Alabama. You got LSU and Oklahoma the last game of the season. I mean, every single week. I mean, we could have number one versus number two on multiple occasions. We could have multiple top 5 matchups. We could have multiple teams in the top 10 and the top 8. We talk about college baseball, by the way. Shout out A&M, almost had it, but the Tennessee Volunteers number 1 seed.
Right. How that series, that game 3 was absolutely wild. And when you go through that schedule, Thrift, that's almost like creating a custom schedule in NCAA football. If my friend made me that schedule, I'd look at him like, what did I do to you? Do I owe you money? Did I say something about your mom? Like, what is this? This is ridiculous. But it is one of those games. We're getting back towards the I know with the expanded playoff, it's hard to put a priority on week to week. But week to week, my friends, you know where to find all of us college football fans. In front of a TV or listening to a game. Because this season's about to be bonkers.
And the Big Ten, didn't even talk about USC and UCLA, Oregon, Washington, all going to the Big Ten. I mean, SEC, you got the CBS, Big Ten. I mean, there's been SEC, sorry, not CBS, but SEC and the Big Ten. Let me slow down a little bit. But, there have been weeks where it's like there's not a lot of great games going on. There'll be one primetime matchup, maybe a decent 3:30 game. Sometimes even SEC on CBS would have to pick out of not a bunch of great games. That's happened in years past.
The Vanderbilt, Missouri. I remember that one.
Yeah, Missouri, South Carolina back in 2012.
All right, let's get ready for this.
But this year, that will not be the case. There is going to be so many games that maybe Georgia Alabama Sports Live can live stream one of them, because
that's what I'm talking about.
There's going to be so much happening this year, so maybe they're going to need our help, Rex. All right, let's move on from Texas and Oklahoma. We'll talk more about that after SEC Media Days. Last question for you, Rex. The Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah,
they got the number 1 overall pick. What are you doing?
Sure
Are you trading it? Are you getting Donovan Clingan, who they're saying they want? He's probably the most for sure prospect to come in this year and have an automatic impact. Now, others may have bigger potential and better players long term, but overall impact, immediate impact, they're saying Clingan. Are the Hawks trading it? Are they trading Trey Young? You are now Landry Fields and Kyle Korver. What are you doing, Rex?
Man, first of all, I really enjoy the time that I have to kind of be that I can determine the landscape of the NBA. So, have we reached the ceiling of Trey Young? I'd say we're closer to it than we thought. As constructed, this team is built in a really unique way where you're kind of like the Warriors, where you're depending on a lot of shooting. And let's be honest, Capella's getting older. This kid, the kid that you can get as the top pick, is a phenom. But I also think there are so many contracts up for sale that possibly why not make a big splash and make a big splash now. So there are rumors about Trey being traded. I would have thought that you don't do that, but I think that you got to make a move for a bigger splash right now versus building up in the future, because you've asked Atlanta to be patient with Trey Young, and you've gotten the villain Trey in New York City, which I love that Trey Young still lives rent free in Knicks fans' heads. But you look at what this team is and the identity of your team. I really think that you have an opportunity to make some big moves, trade the pick, get some more assets, and even package that to really make an impact. Either partner with Trey Young, or you take the first pick, trade Trey to get some more picks to build for the future and bring in another. I think though you have to bring a veteran star. I'll be honest, I have absolutely no idea, but I am very interested to see that basically Atlanta can determine what the landscape of the NBA will be for the next few seasons.
Yeah, I'm with you. And Chris,
don't
give your thoughts on it yet.
Sorry.
Save it, because we're going to take a break. We got to let this guy go. He's very important. He's got to be up at the crack of dawn.
Not important.
And I appreciate everything he's done for me. Look forward to talking to you real soon. It's Rex Castillo. We got In the Trenches coming up July 27th.
There it is.
Red Devils. Correct? Am I right on that date?
Yeah, you nailed it on the head, my friend. And also, as a UTSA alum, go Roadrunners. Cannot wait for the day that the UTSA Roadrunners will be your national champions of college football. It's going to happen. It's going to happen one day, boys.
Maybe on college football 2025 when you're playing.
I've done it multiple times in NCAA 14. I want to see it in real life.
Well, it may happen when your son gets to go to that school and make that championship.
I will get a Roadrunner tattoo on my face if it happens. I promise you that.
It's Rex Castillo of WRBL. It's Georgia Alabama Sports Live. Thank you so much, man. Look forward to talking to you real soon.
All right, guys. Take care.
That's Rex Castillo. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back from break, we're going to have Richard Holdridge, who has quietly been standing by. I know he is eager to come on so we can talk some Atlanta Hawks and whatever else has happened in the wonderful world of sports. It's Thrift Barringer, Chris Gates, Richard Holdridge, Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show. We'll be right back after this, live from Glynn Smith Chevrolet and GMC.
Get ready to smile.
You're watching right now the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show that is presented by Glynn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. Get ready to smile. We'll be right back after this.
Make your way to Glynn Smith Chevrolet. Choose America's #1 compact SUV, the Chevy Equinox. Discounted up to $6,500 off. Chevy's full-size pickup truck, the powerful Chevy Silverado, is up to $12,000 off. And big Chevy Silverado 2500 HDs are discounted up to $6,000 off. Plus, enjoy no payments until fall. Make your way to Glynn Smith Chevrolet in Opelika.
Get ready to smile.
We love being able to go to the different high school, colleges, middle schools to live broadcast sporting events around the area. Georgia Alabama Sports Live appreciates all the fan support, but without a presenting sponsor like Glynn Smith Chevrolet and GMC and Opelika, none of this would be possible. So we want to say thank you so much. Go to glynsmith.com. That is right, glynsmith.com. See all the inventory and see why people always say, you're ready to smile. Thanks, everyone, and thank you to Glynn Smith Chevrolet and GMC for being our presenting sponsor. Welcome back to the program. It's Thrift Barringer. It's Chris Gates, and let's go ahead and bring him on. His name is Richard Holdridge. He is live from the Dance Studios in Columbus, Georgia.
It's actually Gymnastics Unlimited here in Columbus. My two daughters are doing gymnastics practice, preparing for the 2028 Olympics.
Listen.
Hey, Richard, are you going to call that? You can do the play-by-play. That'll be great.
Listen, this is dedication, Richard. We wanted you to be here, but obviously when you're a dad first, and you're a husband and dad first, and this is your main job, and then goes your job Fort Moore, and then comes Georgia Alabama Sports Live. So this is what happens, but this is why we got technology as well, so we can make the show still happen. A lot of great things we just digested with Rex. Richard, we're starting back sitting with an athletic director, state of the program. Steve Smith will be first, and then we'll hit Coach Brunson, Coach Gordon, maybe another coach on the Georgia Alabama Sports Live show on Thursday or Friday. One of those days we're going to do a show. And then on top of that, Chris, we got Glenwood next week. We'll get Coach Nelson, Coach Purdue, maybe Coach McConnell, softball. We're going to have multiple things going. We're at multiple schools, just like we did last year. Looking forward to it. Should be a lot of fun. And I know, Richard, you like doing it as well.
Oh, there's no question. I am excited that we're doing the state of the program, a conversation with the athletic director, as it's really great when we're being able to feature all these schools, not just football, but basketball and baseball and softball and track and soccer. I mean, we really want to showcase the talent that's here in the Tri-City area, and I'm really blessed to be it. And I do want to say something. I've been listening to the show. First of all, you guys did such a great job with Rex Castillo. Chris, wow, I'm blown away. You have really stepped up, and I'm excited that you are not just a great producer, but also a great personality. You're really being yourself.
Richard,
you're showing your personality.
He's coming after you, man. I'm telling you, he is coming after you. You better be
you know what? I actually enjoyed producing the first part of this show. I mean, I've been sitting back listening, and it was such a great show. But yeah, of course, I'm behind the scenes because I'm live on location at Gymnastics Unlimited.
Gymnastics Unlimited, only on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. You get that route live. Richard.
Hey, maybe they can be a sponsor of Georgia Alabama Sports Live. Maybe.
Maybe. Who knows?
Who knows?
All right, let's get into it, Richard. Let's talk Atlanta Hawks.
Okay.
Clapping
Okay.
to motivate myself. Okay, and I'm getting myself pumped up for this. A couple things the Hawks could do. I heard a great trade. Trae Young and Clint Capella for Mikal Bridges and Ben Simmons from the Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn gets their star that they want to build around. They don't have a lot of first-round picks. So they get Trae Young. And remember, he's a New York Knicks killer, so they can use that as a plot to get people to come there because, no one right now is tuning into the Brooklyn Nets. And then on the flip side for the Hawks, you get a guy, Mikal Bridges, who's excellent 3-and-D, can play make. You add him with DeAndre. You keep the number 1 overall pick, so you get Klingon to replace Capella. You got Hunter. I think that is a very fun team. And then Jalen Johnson, or you can go get Reed Shepherd and let him be your point guard and just get another Trae Young. You still got a Kongwu. Maybe you trade that Reed Shepherd and turn into a sign and trade with Paul George. I just feel like it's time to move on from Trae Young. I'm starting to feel that. I think it benefits getting Mikal Bridges because he's an excellent guy. You saw him was a great third option on Phoenix Suns when they made the championship 3 years ago. It's just time. I think it's time to move on. Now,
there's also talk getting Brandon Ingram as well, part of that trade.
I feel, you know what, for the number 1 overall pick, I can trade Brandon Ingram because I think Ingram is still going to be a better pro than anybody in this draft. I don't think I would have a problem with that at all, getting Ingram if you don't get Mikal Bridges. Either way, I think the Hawks need to make some type of move, some type of trade, and then get Clingan. I think he's a great player, and I think anybody that's played for UConn, that development system, they've been the best program in college basketball the last couple of years. Why not take one of the best players? He's big. You saw Walker Kessler, the value he brings to the Jazz, and this guy can actually shoot and play make. I like Clingan a lot. Chris, go ahead, and then Richard.
I was going to say, and from I was going to say it earlier when Rex was still on too. One of the things for Hawks fans, they've been in this predicament before. Now going on 10 years when you had a team of Jeff Teague or the Joe Johnson and Al Horford, Kyle Korver. They won the most wins in the East that year. They beat the Washington Wizards, or the Paul Pierce Washington Wizards. It looks like they were going to make a run at it along with Golden State when they started getting good. And then LeBron James just went and really decimated. There was just no answer for them. Yeah. They weren't the only team, the Pacers. So that team fell through. We get Trae Young, and we got really close back in 2021. If he didn't get injured in that Milwaukee series, they might have had a shot. They could have had a pretty good shot. But we haven't really been the same since then. And it's really kind of difficult because there is the part of me that's just sitting there thinking, like, we could still do something, but it's been a minute. And even go with even something that Charles Barkley and a few other people said, it's kind of hard to start paying for players on a team that's just performing mediocre.
And then you got to think about this too, Chris. Is Trae Young a winning player? He made it to the conference finals, but at this point, I'm not so sure he's a winning player. Is he a good team player? We've seen everybody from his butting heads with coaches to now him and Murray. I mean, John Collins hated playing with him. He's obviously hard to handle unless he changes his mindset. Maybe he does this year. I like Quinn Snyder a lot. I think if we give Quinn, good talent around him, this team can be competitive in the East. Why are we in the play-in? Why? I know injuries had a big part of that, but
you bring
I think it's time to move on from Trae Young.
You bring up an excellent point. And I'm not going to, before I let you on, Richard, Luka coming to the arena this season scoring 70, it sure didn't help fans of that trade. So
think about what Luka's done for Dallas. And again, the Hawks drafted him to trade for Trae Young. Richard, your thoughts?
The Hawks have to get this pick right. When they got the first pick, when the lottery was announced, I immediately thought, go get Alex Sarr because he is the best prospect. But now I'm actually doing my research, and he hasn't been worked out with the Hawks yet. I don't know if the Hawks actually draft him tomorrow. I think they do get Donovan Clingan. But if you look at the history of the Hawks draft, last season, Kobe Buffkin, the jury's still out on him, A.J. Griffin, yeah, he had some playing time in his first year, but his minutes dwindled. I think Jalen Johnson at number 20 in 2021 was a very good pick. Great pick. Onyeka Okongwu at number 6 in 2020, I expected a lot more. I thought that was going to be an all-star. And then 2019, you had the duo of DeAndre Hunter and Cam Reddish. Yeah, Cam Reddish, and that it felt like a bonus pick from the Luka trade, but he just never panned out in Atlanta. And then we all remember 2018. I'm not going to go into that. I like the pick in 2017 with John Collins. To be honest with you, losing John Collins, I know that he was a max player. They wanted, him in the rotation, and he just didn't get along with Trae Young, and he went to Utah, where his stats kind of dwindled a little bit. But they got to get this pick right. I mean, they have, if you want to go way back in the draft, I mean, they missed on Sheldon Williams. They missed on AC Law.
Let me interrupt you real quick. I mean, that has happened a lot. When I go back and do my research on the NBA draft, there's very few guys that just hit burners, which is consecutive drafts. I mean, the most famous one is the one by Sam Presti when he went Kevin Durant, Westbrook, and James Harden in 3 consecutive drafts. All of them won MVPs. I mean, then you got the Celtics, Danny Ainge, who should get a ring for that championship because he drafted Brown and Tatum in back-to-back drafts. Memphis has had, hit on a couple of hits with John Morant, Desmond Bain.
And the current, in Golden State during that time when they hit it, when you got the Draymond Green and Steph, and eventually Clinton, Clay, and and so it is.
It defines a team.
Yeah, it does.
It does define a team. So I'm wondering, you keep talking about hitting on this pick, but this draft, I don't think has a pick that could really define a championship. I think it could define wins in the regular season. I think Clingan could be a really good player, but I think this has to be more about what are you doing with this roster? Because if you're drafting Clingan, you're saying you're trying to win now. Can you win now with Clingan? And if you get him, what are you doing with Capella? That means it makes me think they are going to trade pieces. Are they going to go out and get the project in SARS? I don't think work them out. I don't think they're going to get him. But do you think this roster is capable of winning a championship presently constructed? I wouldn't trade Jalen Johnson. I wouldn't trade pretty much Johnson, maybe a Okongwu, but I'm ready to move off of Hunter. He's been injured. DeJounte Murray, if I'm going to give Young, I'll keep Murray maybe, but there's really not an untouchable on this roster. There's a bunch of great players. They just don't mesh together. What do the Hawks do? I think it's time to move on from Young. Let Murray run the team. Bring in Mikal Bridges. You got Clingan. Think about that starting five, guys. DeJounte Murray. You could have a multitude of players playing the two, but let's say Bogdanovich. Then you still got DeAndre Hunter or Mikal Bridges, Jalen Johnson, and then you add Clingan and Okongwu. That's 7, 8 deep. You haven't even talked about Griffin and Kobe Buffkin. That's a talented roster that could win 50 games next year. I think if
in a very weak in the East too.
Weak in the East
yes.
too. That it's up for grabs. We don't know what Philly's going to do. Are they going to get Paul George? I think the Celtics are the standard, but aside from that, I mean, injuries hurt Miami. What is Jimmy Butler going to do? There's a lot of questions. Hawks can be competitive, I think, if they make the right moves. What are those moves, Richard?
I really do think that they need to trade Trae Young. I mean, you're right. He doesn't play defense. You can get a lot of capital for trading Trae Young. You can get some draft picks. You could build around DeJounte Murray. You look at the Hawks' record with and without Trae, it was identical. So Trae does not equal wins. When Trae was hurt, DeJounte Murray was running the point, and he was doing just fine. They need to build around DeJounte Murray. I like the moves you talked about. I do like DeAndre Hunter as a two-way player. He just can't stay healthy.
That's it.
And I do think it's time for Clint Capella to go. And I do think, and I apologize, it is very loud. During the hour, we have a transition where one class ends and another class begins. So
live from Columbus.
Gymnastics Unlimited, a future sponsor of Georgia Alabama Sports Live, maybe? I might talk to the manager after this.
I will say, moving on from the Hawks, it is a big decisions coming here, and especially with free agency starting on Monday at 12 o'clock midnight. We'll see what those moves are going to entail, but it starts tomorrow as the NBA draft is upon us. Another thing I do want to talk about, not really about where other teams are going to go. Rockets, you put in here at the 3rd overall pick. I wish Rex would have told us who he wanted to get. That's a talented roster.
I was wondering, Thrift, that Rex would pick what the Hawks should pick.
Last year, and they lost Alperen Sengun, who was one of the better players in the league last year. But I want to talk about Bronny James. I've done research, and I have listened to many different opinions of people I respect that are in the NBA field. Nobody said he's a first-round draft pick. Nobody. Not one person says he should be a first-round draft pick in the worst draft in the last 15 seasons. I'm finding it hard to see where a 6'1" guard who you saw struggled his freshman year trying to get shots, is not super explosive, can make dunk and get plays. He is athletic, but not super explosive. Where is this going to work? Because if you're going to draft someone small, i.e. a Trae Young or a Reed Shepherd, they got to have a skill set. They got to finish at the rim. They got to be super athletic, quick, or can hit jump shots, or is an excellent shooter. He's none of those. He's average at all of them. He's not bad at anything. He's average, but then he's got no height. I don't want to make this where I'm hating on LeBron, but are you doing your son a service trying to pin teams for your service to draft your son that when you retire probably will not be in the league? And it's okay. I think sometimes this happens. Remember Marcus Jordan, Michael Jeffrey Jordan's son? He was decent at Central Florida, had better stats than LeBron James. Never even sniffed the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Neither one of his sons did. The other one graduated from Illinois. So it's okay if the son doesn't turn into the dad. Maybe his middle child will. He's got other kids. I just don't see it, Richard. I don't know how this works for any team that's going to draft him. Maybe because of his dad, and it's okay to say that. Your dad's LeBron James. You've been in the league. You made the league millions of dollars, almost billions. It's okay to get your son playing, but that doesn't mean if I'm an NBA team, I'm going to draft him in the first round because LeBron, you're also 40 years old. Obviously, the Lakers probably going to get him, Chris.
I was going to say, I think it's the Lakers. The Mavs have been kind of linked, interested as well,
because they're going to get LeBron. But I'm not buying Bronny. And maybe he turns into a good guy off the bench. I mean, we see TJ McConnell. He's short, and he turns into a very formidable, could start from a lot of teams for the Pacers. But I just don't see it with Bronny.
He could be an Austin Rivers, just a utility player.
Yeah, well, Austin Rivers, again, put up better stats his freshman year.
That's true. That is true.
Again,
that is true.
I get what you're saying with Rivers, who was a great role player, and he got drafted number 1. Everybody's number 10, top 10. Everybody said his dad was the reason for all the hype. I get that. But he put up stats for a decent and our number 2 seed Duke team back in 2011, 2012.
Very
and
true.
was the number 1 overall prospect coming in.
Yep.
Bronny was not that. So I don't see where it works. And I don't know why they want him to come out right now. Why couldn't he dominate college basketball to make it more enticing? And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that LeBron doesn't want to play another 4 or 5 more years. He wants to play maybe a couple more. And he's ready for his son to play with him now. What's your thoughts on Bronny? I just don't see it working. And LeBron, like always, people can say what they want, but I don't have a problem with him dictating stuff because when you get power and you're as good as him, utilize it. And he has. He's gotten 4 championships, been to 10 of them. But
with 3 different teams, too. That's a very impressive stat.
Yeah, but this is the lowest, I think, too, because I just don't see it for Bronny. And I honestly think it could have a negative effect on Bronny because you're going to have many players thinking you're only in the league because of your dad. And then depending on how it struggles and then the limelight, I mean, it is going to be a lot on this young man's shoulders. And he already doesn't have the talent nor the size to keep up with, I think, the NBA teams right now. Richard.
I would not be shocked if the Lakers take Bronny James in the first round with the 17th pick. I just think that they want to sign a LeBron to a max deal. They're looking at maybe 3 years, $170 million. That's the only way that LeBron stays in LA. I mean, right now, I don't know what the Lakers are doing. I mean, they don't have a plan to try to win a championship. I know that JJ Redick is saying all the right things, that he is going to try to win a championship. His goal is to win a championship as a coach. But maybe Bronny James could be a role player off the bench. I think it's a very small sample size. The 5 points he averaged at USC, I think that a lot of considerations you have to factor in with the cardiac arrest, not getting a whole lot of training camp time, not a whole lot of preseason, and then he was sharing a lot of minutes with Isaiah Collier. I mean, because they pretty much play the same position.
And I get that. But here's the thing, though. I'm telling you, multiple NBA scouts are saying that he's not. And I think they're seeing more than just his stats. They're just watching him, how he plays. And maybe you're right. Maybe he felt like he really couldn't showcase his talent because of the health scare and everything else. But I just don't see it working, Chris. I don't see Bronny transitioning. And you made mention about JJ Redick. I mean, you're talking about a lose-lose situation for him. And everybody's making the joke about him podcasting and all that. You're going to take over the Lakers. You're going to be stuck with Bron and his diva-ness these next year. You don't have a great roster to win now. And then you're going to be stuck with Bronny James afterwards. Well, sounds like a heck of a job I'd want to take. I'd rather be Monty Williams and fired from 2 jobs, owed close to $100 million, and have that stink on my resume than be JJ Redick in his first season coaching this Lakers drama. No way.
Yeah, that press conference, JJ Redick, saying all the right things, but the Lakers head coaches have not had any success. No Lakers head coach since Phil Jackson has lasted more than 3 seasons. I think that he's a lame duck coach. I mean, the Lakers are going to expect him to win right away. And you're not going to be able to win right away in a stacked West. But look, Darvin Ham got the Lakers to 2 playoff appearances, including a conference finals 2 seasons ago. Frank Vogel won a title in 2020. So it's going to be a very, very small window for J.J. Redick to try to get a championship, or at least have the Lakers be one of the top teams in the West. I think they make moves during the draft to try to trade away some of their assets, like Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves, and D'Angelo Russell. They might trade away Anthony Davis, but I don't know. I think that the Lakers do not have a plan, and it's going to be a long season.
That's a good one there, Richard. I was going to say, because, man, you trade away Anthony Davis, you do that with that team. Ooh, that's – and when you say that, Richard, I was just thinking, on the most recent, like Oklahoma City just made their trade for Alex Greedy for Caruso, and that's just going to strengthen their team.
Good defensive guy
last year.
And I still like Giddey a lot. I mean, he puts up great numbers, and I think a new scene for him. He could be a really good player on a good team.
But Richard, you bring up an excellent point too that I want to say is about. It's just not just with the Lakers, but with these NBA teams. Some of these teams and some of these coaches, they really are going after the coaches more so than some of these players. I mean, you've had Mike Bud over at Milwaukee, won them a championship 2021. He gets fired 2 years later. Monty Williams had that great Phoenix. That Suns team is doing fantastic. They don't get to win the championship, and then they don't perform well the next year. They fire him.
How about Nick Nurse?
I feel like, to me, the Lakers, in particular in this situation, I don't know if they're really focused on really trying to build a competitive team. I think, and this is just coming from my own personal opinion, I think they're just putting whatever's out there and saying, hey, we're being flashy. Look, we got LeBron James' son if they get Bronny. Or look, we have JJ Redick, and he's popular. He was on ESPN. He has this. I think the part of the Showtime Lakers was you did that because they were good. It wasn't just a flashy name you put out there. They were a talented team. Right now, you're just doing the Showtime part, but there's no talent there. These are just a bunch of old guys out there.
I like that.
Yeah.
You got the Showtime without the winning.
That's it. You don't have no
winning.
Thrift. I'm gonna take it a step further. It's the Lake Show.
That's my personal opinion on that, but I do agree with you, Thrift, and what you said too, Richard. I don't see it. He's gonna get drafted because he's LeBron James' son, and the expectation is going to be unfairly high. And every team they play against is going to play against them. They're going to play against them hard. Remember when his USC came here to Auburn, and how Jordan Hare, they were already packed. They're already packed anyway because of Bruce Pearl and what that team does. But particularly for that game, they were just out there for it. And just take that same level, and you're going to times the 10 with these NBA fans when they go and play the Knicks, when they go to the 76ers, when they go to any one of these teams, when they go to the Celtics, when they go to all these different teams and have to play there, it's going to be an atmosphere he's not been used to. So it's going to be interesting, really.
Yeah, it is. And I can't wait to see how it transpires. NBA draft is tomorrow. Can't wait to see what's gonna happen. But the NBA, moving on from that, we are gonna hit on this show at some point. NFL. We're gonna start giving some preseason predictions. Start talking teams, talking Falcons. That's gonna happen here in the next couple of weeks. We got a college football. Phil still drops its magazine. I can't wait to digest and get all the information. Watch Josh Pate give us what we think is going to happen this upcoming college football season that is going to be epic for sure. The Braves are playing great baseball. I'm not hitting on Braves today. We'll have on Redmond hopefully here in the next week or so.
Trade deadline's coming up for them.
Trade deadline, and the Braves are playing good baseball.
They're playing
now.
good. I still think in the end, it's still going to be a Braves-Dodgers. I think both teams are going to get just about right in that time. That's not a knock to the Phillies.
I got to do this.
Go ahead.
No, not to the Phillies, but I'm with you. I think they can win the championship. Yeah. But we'll talk Braves later on this week. Richard, I'm going to let you do this. because I know I watched it last night, but it's not like I've kept up with the whole playoffs. Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers lose in Game 7, almost had that epic comeback against the Florida Panthers. He won I can't think of the name. I don't want to mispronounce it, but it's the MVP basically of the entire playoffs. McDavid won. He was like one of the first guys to win that and not win a championship. But the Panthers win. Talk about your opinion on what happened. Jerome Bouchard was there. We had him on Sports Visions the other day, literally last night. He made mention. He was cheering for Edmonton. What Connor McDavid's done, he's incredible. He's still short of that championship, but
they should be proud. Regardless, they should be proud.
The Panthers, Miami, a team from Florida, is a hockey champion. Other than Tampa.
Well, first of all, for a Monday night in the month of June, that was just an amazing sports night. I was flipping back and forth between the College World Series between Tennessee and Texas A&M and Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Great last 3 minutes as Edmonton pulls the goalie. I thought they were going to tie it. 2-1, Florida ends up winning. If they didn't win Game 7, it would have been the biggest collapse in a championship history. That's what a lot of people are saying. But the Florida Panthers win their first ever Stanley Cup and another title for the city of Miami. I mean, you got the Miami Heat with 3 titles. You had the Florida Marlins with 2, the Miami Dolphins with 2, and the University of Miami Hurricanes with 5 national titles. So once again, they're partying down in South Beach, and great for the Florida Panthers. I'm excited for Keith Tkachuk, who is my favorite American-born player. I can't wait until the Winter Olympics in 2026 because he is going to represent the USA. And speaking of USA, I hate to get off a subject, but did you know that United States plays Panama in Atlanta on Thursday for Copa America?
Did not know that, and I wish I could. We should go there and cover that. That would be pretty cool.
We'll send our soccer correspondent Torgar down there.
Yeah, I can't wait to cover the Olympics and talk about that. It's USA. He's got a great roster, but this is the best the other world teams have been in quite some time. Remember, Spain had its run, and they were competitive, but still Americas were better. Last Olympics, they didn't. The USA didn't send its best talent there, and they still won a championship. But this year, between Canada, between maybe the Bahamas, Australia, France,
Canada looks good.
Competitive games. Luka Doncic, any team that Nikola Jokic is playing on always can make an upset, especially when he's playing with a lot of his brothers that he grew up with and played with for all his career before he got to the NBA, both of Doncic and Jokic. So can't wait for that. We'll dive into that when that gets closer towards the end of July. And I will end the show with College World Series, the SEC, Tennessee finally getting a championship. Great job at Vitella, Coach Tony from Tennessee, winning a championship over A&M. The SEC team was going to be national champions. They've dominate every sport, and it's only going to get better next year when you add Texas and Oklahoma. But College World Series in baseball is almost more dominant than football has been, and football has been dominant since 2006, and really since '98 when the BCS started. But baseball is holding its own and maybe even more dominant these last couple of years. 5 teams in the College World Series. The last 3 years, 2 SEC teams have been in the national championship. The SEC has won multiple national championships in a row. They are just better than everyone else. Maybe they just care more than everyone else.
Well, it's a testament to we discussed about this earlier today. We've been talking about it.
And it was a great game too, by the way.
It was a fantastic series. Before I let you go, Richard, before I let you say something, Richard, is that the testament to the baseball teams that we have down here in our own city, from the Glenwoods to Pacelli's to the Brookstones to Columbus High. And then they go on to CBCC and they go to these other colleges, and you see how talented they are. So to see these teams, the SEC teams that have been doing it, Georgia, Auburn, Tennessee, Texas A&M, LSU, all of these guys are just playing phenomenal right now. And it just comes right here in your hometown or the areas that are surrounding us just to see them do so well.
Go ahead, Richard.
Well, think about the SEC teams that didn't make the College World Series. Georgia, who had the Golden Spikes Award winner in Charlie Condon. You had the defending College World Series champions LSU from last year. Vanderbilt, who's been a dominant powerhouse in college baseball. Arkansas, who is one of the top teams, they get knocked out in the region tournament. The SEC is stacked, and when Texas and Oklahoma come to the conference next year, look out.
Yeah, look out indeed. And we want to say thank you to Rex Castillo. Thank you to Richard Holdridge holding the fort down at gymnastics. Was not going to be denied. Thank you to Jerry Potter and everyone here at Glynn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. If you want to buy a new truck or new car, all right, you have to trust the people that are going to help you make that investment. You're making a long-term investment. This is multiple years. You got to make sure that you don't feel like you're about to be bamboozled, taken advantage of.
Nope.
You don't want things thrown at you don't understand. You want it simple. You want to understand, make it understandable, and you want to be able to find the perfect car truck for you. Good credit, bad credit. Glynn Smith's going to do that. And they've been one of the best dealers from all over the country. I mean, it does not matter what state. I was talking with Jerry Potter. 31 different states have had people come from that state and come here to buy their car or truck just for the sole purpose because other people from other states come here. And I wouldn't go anywhere else. I trust everyone here at Glynn Smith Chevrolet GMC. I trust Jared Hudson. I trust the entire sales staff. When you walk in, you're greeted with a smile from the receptionist, and then she's going to find one of these awesome salespeople. They're going to find you the car or truck you're needing. And that's why they say when you leave, you're smiling. Isn't that right?
And
Chris?
it's not that hard, too. They're right up the street, whether you're in Columbus, whether you're in LaGrange, or just even right here in the Opelika, Auburn area. You come here. Thrift, I don't have to tell you, it's been hot. And let me tell you something. If you ever driven a car without AC in it, it's almost unbearable.
Yeah.
And trust me, so please do what you got to do. Come on down here. Talk to one of these people. Get yourself a brand new car. Get yourself some air conditioning this summer.
I'm looking right now. All the Denali's are unbelievably nice from GMC. They got Chevys here. Silverado is one of the best trucks around. Durable. That's the motto for Chevy and GMC. They also got pre-owned vehicles. They got They have so much inventory. The lot is full of it. There's no excuse why you can't find something you're going to love. So come make an appointment. You can check their website as well. And check out all the inventory before you even get here, so you kind of have an idea.
Yes.
But even if you don't have an idea and you come in here with a blank slate, they're going to make sure to find something that is for you. And I love it. I love that they're our presenting sponsor. I love that they're going to be a big part of what we do here in 2024 and 2025. I wouldn't want it anywhere else. And like I said, being with PNB Broadcasting, I go to a lot of dealerships. I go and meet a lot of people in the car buying and truck buying industry. I just feel at home here. I feel welcomed. I feel like people are genuine here, and that's why it's one of the top dealerships, not just in the state of Alabama, not just in the state of Georgia or in the Southeast, but all across the country. 31 different states have had people come from their state to here to buy a car or truck, and that's awesome. And that's why we blast them all the time, because we put up all the commercial we got. We always have their logo. It's because they believe in what we're doing, and that's something that Jerry talks about. He wants to have a hand and make sure he's supporting everything local, because this is a community place, and I'm glad that we're a part of it, Chris.
Oh, of course we are. We just cannot give enough a shout out to them and all that they do for us. And we can look forward to it as we kind of continue on forward with this. But Thrift, it's been a fantastic day. Richard, thank you so much for all that you've done today, coming on with us and helping produce the show and getting it. Thanks to Rex for coming on and just talking on the sports.
I got to say, www.glennsmithchevy.com. That is www.glennsmithchevy.com is the name of the website. Richard, you're great. Rex, you're great. Thank y'all. Tomorrow, sitting with that athletic director, state of the programs, first one, Calvary AD and head baseball coach Steve Smith. You're not going to want to miss it. We also got Summer League basketball. LaGrange taking on Calvary.
Yes.
And then we got Spencer taking on New Manchester. So we'll have that. We'll have an interview. We got the show coming up. And before we get out of here, throw up the graphic, because you did all that hard work. I might as well let you throw up the graphic. DJ would have killed me if we went off the show without talking about this. Isaiah Crowell is having his annual youth football camp. And it's awesome. Isaiah Crowell played in the NFL, was an All-American. This guy was just an elite player, and now he still gives back to this Columbus area. Over 200, 300 kids show up. They get great instruction from Coach Pierre Coffey from Carver and all the other coaches that volunteer. Isaiah is there, of course. DJ's been the orchestrator of this and helped Isaiah when Isaiah came with the idea, and it's awesome. And guess what? We're going to be live from 10 to 11:30 on the Sports Vision's Facebook page and YouTube channel. Myself and DJ Jones will even talk with Richard Holdridge. We'll talk with Pierre Coffey. We're going to talk with Isaiah Crowell, maybe some players, some fans. We're doing a whole live show from Shirley B. Winston Park. That is 5025 Seymour Road. You want to come in person, you can. The camp's already pretty much filled in, but sometimes people don't show up. There may be an opening for you. So if you want to show up early in the morning, 8:30, make sure you can get them checked in. We're saying that you can do that, and we will be live at 10 o'clock. Cannot wait to be there. Chris,
it's gonna be fantastic. And shout out to Isaiah Crowell and his whole organization and his family and friends. They do so much for the community. They do a lot with DJ, from his football camp to his giving back during Thanksgiving time. He gives back to the community. And this is something that even Rex and I were talking about a few days ago. All these different camps and all these different players who are giving back. Because Isaiah could have been doing this into Atlanta or in either one of his towns when he was with the Cleveland and when he was in Oakland Mikael Bridges, a number of these players who they come here back to the communities. Mikael Williams. I'm sorry. Thank you for correcting me.
Mikael Bridges.
Yes,
Mikael
Williams. Sorry.
By the way.
And there's one I'm definitely looking for. Kobe Hudson will also be here
You
this
going there Friday?
I like to go there Friday.
Of that.
Yeah, and so, but come on out, watch it. If you don't come on out, watch us live on the Sports Vision Facebook and YouTube page this Saturday, 10 a.m. We'll be showing the coverage of the whole thing. We'll be talking to, like Thrift said, a number of the players and stuff. It's just going to be a great time and just a great way to get back to the community. And I'm looking forward to it.
Richard?
Well, I'm a huge fan of Isaiah Crowell, and I'm excited to finally meet him. I mean, I followed his NFL career, 5 very successful NFL seasons. 2016, he almost rushed for 1,000 yards. I mean, he was the featured back for the Cleveland Browns. And we know his playing career at the University of Georgia. I know that injuries cut his career short, but he always gives back to the community. The former Carver Tiger, who really has had a tremendous impact on the community of Columbus, and a future Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Famer. In my opinion, he belongs in the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and he'll be in the High School Football Hall of Fame here in the not-too-distant future. So will DJ Jones. So can't wait to have that on this Saturday. We are going to have a Georgia-Alabama Sports Live show Thursday or Friday. We haven't decided the date, so tune in for that. You got the AD interview this on Wednesday. We may even have an interview with Steve and then a show right after Wednesday night. It's up in the air, but make sure to tune in. We're kind of flexible here during the summertime. And then next week, we got more stuff here on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. For Richard Holdridge, Chris Gates, Rex Castillo, I'm Thrift Barringer saying thank y'all so much for tuning in. Thank you to Glynn Smith Chevrolet and GMC and all our partners here for allowing us to be live. We can't wait to be back next month. We'll see you later. Good night, everyone. Thank you for watching the Georgia Alabama Sports Live show presented by Glynn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. You're ready to smile.